gentlemen, maybe just to get going, I might be asking you to introduce a little more yourself and the specific institution that you represent. Maybe if you want to take the first date by that, Nariman, I'll be happy to listen to you.
Yeah, so I'm representing here Tauken Samruk. It's a national mining company, so belongs to the Samruk Kazana. And we have several assets and the partners with global giants such as Glencore, Rio, FMG, and others. So we have different assets in a different stage.
Perfect. Please, if you want to also present Grey Wolf Management, exactly what is your scope and your presence, that'd be very interesting.
Yeah, actually, Grey Wolf Management, it's a management company, industrial consultancy company from exploration until metallurgical processing. And the second part, we are junior mining company. We have our own exploration license, and we'd like to complete our pipeline and to develop and to participate in junior mining sector in Kazakhstan.
Perfect, thank you, Kenneth. Andrew, can you give us a little bit of details of Kaz Minerals? I think a lot of people know about the company, but it'd be interesting to hear from you.
So Kaz Minerals listed in the UK in 2005. He had at the time 65,000 staff. We had 18 mines across Kazakhstan, and we were a member of the FTSE 100 and FTSE 250 for over 15 years. We delisted actually in 2021. I joined the company in February 2006, so I've got a long history of working within Kaz Minerals and also with Kazakhstan. In 2014, we went through quite a major restructuring and we reduced our size down to around 13,000 staff in Kazakhstan. We also have operations in Kyrgyzstan, but principally in Kazakhstan. And we're a copper miner with byproducts of gold, silver, and zinc.
Very good, thank you very much. Kenneth, maybe if I can turn to you. I know you're actually active across Central Asia, not only Kazakhstan, even Afghanistan, if I'm not wrong, but we're going to focus on Kazakhstan here. Can you give us a little bit of details of the potential of Kazakhstan as a country in terms of its mineral wealth, what kind of commodities we're looking at, and some of level of of the business ecosystem that you can find in the country, please?
Yeah, actually nowadays mining sector in Kazakhstan we get second wind. Because last more than 35 years we didn't discover something big, something new. All of the based on mineral deposits were discovered in Soviet Union period. So, however, second thing, we have a huge potential in mineral resources sector because just 35% of our territory was explored, not deep, only I think no more than 200 meters deep. So, and we have good potential to develop this sector. And nowadays our government has launched new legislation, new infrastructure, and put a lot of efforts to develop junior mining sector and in exploration site, exploration stage to discover something attractive and feasible nowadays. And in that reason, we have launched a new legislation. We establish new infrastructure for this, attract investments, a lot of investments from abroad and the local investors. Searching, I think it's a huge market. It creates a huge market of junior mining companies.
Perfect, thank you much. Building on this, maybe Nariman, can I ask you about the specific strength of Kazakhstan? What makes it an appealing jurisdiction compared to others, especially in terms, not only on incentive from government, because I come back to it, but specifically in terms of the wealth of the country and capacities that you have?
Yeah, so as you know that the Kazakhstan has a long mining history. It's more than 220 years. So first, Kazakhstani copper extraction company was listed even during the Russian Empire time, and it was Spasskaya company, so you can understand that this region is well known for copper for more than 150 years. And what kind of potential it gives? So as Kanat mentioned, there is a new legislation from 2017 that opened the mining companies and the country for the mining, that it mimics the Western Australia law. So, and it works according to the rules of first come, first serve, and it also brings the new investments. And as we can see during the last couple of years, giants are entering country. So Rio is there. So Glencore is already there. We saw that FMG is coming. The companies from Turkey, from China and other regions are seeking for the next elephant, as we say that somewhere there. And we can see that elephants are near. So one of the biggest gold mines in the world is 100 kilometers from border from Kazakhstan. It's located in Uzbekistan.
Yes.
And one of the biggest copper project is also next to Kazakhstan in Mongolia, Oyu Tolgoi. That's why we're thinking that next elephant should be somewhere here. So that's the perspective of the country.
To confirm the interest, I mean, we had a fireside chat with Kanat just before, and we had 3 Turkish gentlemen just jumping on Kanat to ask questions about the country. So there is growing interest from neighboring countries. Maybe Andrew, if I can turn to you, because I mean, it's interesting to get your point of view of what it is to operate specifically in Kazakhstan. I mean, if we look specifically at the environmental code, at the geological database, is it an easy, jurisdiction to work in and to operate in?
The simple answer is yes. But I mean, even going back, these are recent changes, and I think my colleagues have described how the Kazakh government has continued to open up the market and try and attract international investment. But even prior to that, I mean, Kazakhstan's got a very, very long history of attracting high levels of foreign direct investment. It's averaged around $20 billion per year over the last 10 years. The largest sector, of course, is oil and gas, but mining has been also a very significant part. And Kaz Minerals, in terms of our track record, since 2015, we've invested over $6 billion in Kazakhstan. And we successfully built three large projects within that. And we took our production from 85 kilotons a year to around about 400 kilotons a year production today. So, we've found Kazakhstan extremely supportive, a perfect market for us to operate in, and that is before the changes that my colleagues have been speaking about. And for Kazakhstan, to have 3 large-scale projects delivered on time, on budget, and these are globally significant projects in respect of incremental copper supply during that period. That speaks very highly of the environment within Kazakhstan. These are all assets which were known about during the Soviet era, but because of the advances in technology, because also in terms of what the Soviets were looking for, we were able as a business to explore those further. These are assets which in the Soviet era wouldn't have been developed because the copper grades weren't there, but today's technology makes these viable projects to extract from. And like I said, I think we've got an unrivaled track record, not just in Kazakhstan, but globally, in respect of the delivery of that scale of project over that time period, that growth on time, on budget.
Oh, very true. Kanat, I mean, we have with Andrew a very good example of a successful operating company, but I know you wanted to address specifically the junior mining ecosystem. Can you give us a little more of the idea of what are the different actors that operate in Kazakhstan, and maybe because of the similarities and the needs of Saudi Arabia to attract good quality junior miners, is there any synergies that you can actually outline in this?
Actually, junior mining company sector, I think it's quite new in Kazakhstan. It's some virgin. So nowadays, this market was launched, I think, just 5-6 years ago. Before, all of these mining deposits were operated by big players or mid-sized players, as Andrew mentioned. And nowadays, a lot of junior mining companies, they obtain a license, more than 2,000 license, and a lot of exploration works in some very virgin territories. You know, nowadays technological solutions, they give more opportunity to discover and to explore some new territories, which even, for example, sedimentary rocks also. And in that case, I think this market and this environment of junior mining companies sector is very good nowadays, very quite friendly. Yes, if I said everything very, I think, very perfect, I think it should not be some honest, but our government puts a lot of effort to develop this sector. For example, to make availability of information, geological database. As Narima mentioned, we have a huge experience in mining sector, huge history. So we have a very big amount of geological historical database, but unfortunately part of them still on paper. But I think all of the efforts to make a digital system of get some information, I think our government makes all the best. And the second thing, it's technologies. Technologies nowadays quite available, because a lot of international companies come, some of from some foreign junior companies work in Kazakhstan nowadays. They obtain a license. And we have good qualified labor and engineers, very good school traditions in the mining sector. And one little bit strong and little bit tough situation, it's availability of financing, source of financing. We don't have very good stock exchange system like in Canada or in Australia. We don't have any funds which work in exploration sector and junior mining sector. And we put all of the efforts to push this situation and to give to complete all of these indicators to develop this sector for mining junior companies. Because these junior mining companies, I think it's very good supporter and a very good source of big deposits for big players. Big players, for example, even Kazminerals, for example, they don't need, for example, to spend the money for exploration works, just to support junior mining companies and to find out a good deposits or good estimating resource, and after that they can buy or share, and a lot of I think we have some ways and to develop and use it as a source of raw materials. Okay. I think it gives in long-term situation, it gives it should be very good market, very rapidly growth market.
No, very good. Nariman, if I could turn to you to continue on that conversation on governmental incentives, what's the perception from a gold exploration, point of view of the work that has been done by the Kazakh government to try to, make the local mining ecosystem attractive?
Yes, so Kazakhstan is known as the oil extraction country. Yes. Yeah, so we have the huge oil and gas sector, but now our government trying to diversify it, and of course the mining is the second most important industry in Kazakhstan.
Very much similar to Saudi Arabia, basically.
Yeah, very similar to Saudi Arabia. But the thing is that there is a couple of incentives. One of the biggest incentive is so-called investment contract. So if you bring more than 100 million investments to Kazakhstan, you can just sign investment contract with our government, in which it will be stable legislation and stable frames of work, I would like to say, for investors. That, as you know, every mining project has a very long lifetime, at least 7 years from exploration to extraction. Maybe it could be more even, and that's why the sustainable and predictable laws and legislation is very important for investors. So it's the first. The second, there is a huge work being done and still doing on availability of data. So it is a big challenge for Kazakhstan to make this data available for investors. I mean, during the Soviet time, there was about 30% of all the geological works of the Soviet Union was done in Kazakhstan. It's pretty huge amount of works. Now we need to work on it, classify it, and make it available for investors. So it is one of the key issues. And maybe the third thing I would like to say that I already mentioned about the new mining code. We are trying to make it more flexible and more attractive to investors. There is still challenges, as you know, that even all over the world, that worlds go into the left side of the political things, and they're trying to push more and more pressure on the miners. But for Kazakhstan, as the country that is mining friendly, and with the mining history than 150 years, so we are trying to keep it and to attracting all the things.
No, very good. If I can continue with you, Andrei, and then going back to the idea of operations, and obviously we know the strength of the oil and gas sector in Kazakhstan, the quality of the workers there, but what it is to actually operate a mine. I mean, you've seen it from 2006 to today, so you've got quite the experience there in terms of infrastructure, in terms of quality of the workforce. Can you give us and share a little bit of your expertise?
Sure. So Kaz Minerals was, for a number of years, the lowest cost copper miner globally, and since 2014 has always been in the first quartile and was the lowest 25% cost copper companies globally. And the assets I talked about, the $6 billion of investment, these mines are not high-grade mines. They're relatively low-grade. Life of mine, run-of-mine grade is about 0.3, which historically you never would have built. So how is it possible to be so low cost and yet have assets which don't have this sort of 1% plus type copper grade? And the answer is that Kazakhstan, we've touched on some of the points here, but what do you need to have a successful mining business? First of all, you need people. So Kazakhstan has got a long history of mining. We mentioned the schools there, so the labor force is there. Mm-hmm. You need to have access to water. We have that in Kazakhstan. You need to have access to power. Kazakhstan historically was the source of power, with a large part of the power within the Soviet Union, just by the Soviet Union planned power stations across a wide area, and it just happened that they were located within Kazakhstan. So it's got a very developed power grid. You also need access to market, another critical factor for success. Kazakhstan has got a land border with the world's largest consumer of commodities, China. It has got an excellent rail network in terms of delivering your product there. So when you put all of these ingredients together, these are the key success factors for a mining business. That's how Kaz Minerals has been able to operate in the way it has done, and I think this is the sort of foundation for successful for mining. And the government has, alongside that, been developing its own rules. We talked about the Subsoil Use Code. It also became a member of CRISCO, so we're moving to JORC from the historic Soviet method of classification. They're now moving to JORC. So the whole range of different measures being taken, but fundamentally this is a mining country that's absolutely vast, has got minerals from kind of across the periodic table. It's been explored, so the data does exist, but it's been explored in a way which leaves huge opportunities there, and plus the advances in technology mean that we've grown from 85 to 400 kilotons. building assets which couldn't be built before. So the opportunities are there. So that's how, that's my answer to how we find it operating in Kazakhstan.
Perfect. And when we look at, if I turn to you, and we look at those very, let's say, operational assets of Kazakhstan, there's one element that might be missing, and we touched upon, recently, and you actually mentioned it in your previous answer, the question of financing, being able to attract new financing, the source of financing, especially for junior miners in Kazakhstan. You have in neighboring countries, as say, very large, Kumtor in Uzbekistan and copper mines in Mongolia. So the presence of minerals is quite obvious across the country. But how do we manage to attract those investments? What could be done to make it more appealing to investors to come to Kazakhstan and continue the development of this burgeoning, junior miner ecosystem?
Actually, we should have a good infrastructure. Infrastructure, it's a main thing. As Andrew mentioned, we have launched new CRISCO standards in Kazakhstan as a KazRC. It's a copy-paste of the GORC, for example, our own standard. And the second thing, to make a very available all of the database and the digital database of geological information. Third thing, it's to make it quite easy to get a license, to obtain a license from a government side, and to make a good tax regime, and to make some protection of investments. This infrastructure is creating nowadays, is creating a lot of efforts put to this to solve this all of this some issues in this way. In strategic way, we know we would like to create this infrastructure, this environment, and for example, some of big players also participate in this to create this infrastructure. One, our local company, like a Polymetal, they become local, our local Kazakh company. Before it was a Russian company. And they, for example, they spent some financing for supported some junior mining companies. They make some, they give some financing for develop some projects. They make a lot of due diligence and support some projects. I think it's a good tradition to create this environment also. And in future, I think we can create this infrastructure and this environment for junior mining companies, because potential of huge territory of Kazakhstan it's a very vast, and I think to attract big players, it's not enough to develop this sector.
Maybe Nariman, to continue on this question of trying to attract financing. One of the largest evolution over the last couple of years was the integration of ESG variables and kind of more scrutiny on the sustainability of different operations. Maybe from the perspective of a junior miner, of exploration company, how do you include sustainability standards into your day-to-day activity? And is that something that actually makes a difference when you actually try to raise capital for your company?
So we know that as a part of the global mining sector, so ESG questions is very, very important for us. It's not the case of only financing, it's just the whole thing that we would like to be the mining sector sustainable, and we paying a lot of attention on the environment. So in Kazakhstan, there was implemented the new environmental code, and we are trying to reduce the carbon, so to be the carbon zero by 2060 as everyone. So the second thing is very important, and I think that all mining companies are doing there. It's development of local communities, and I think that Kazmin is also a very good example of that. How we are trying to do so. And the last, of course, the governments. We are trying to improve this all these standards and to make this standards very close to the best practices in the world. And of course, these kind of things helps Kazakhstani company to raise the funds. The second things I would like to mention that it's Kazakhstan, on the political side, we have a very good relationship with the key players, so with the China and the US and other things, and it's also help us to raise the funds. I will give example from our side. So for example, company of Tauken Samruk. So we raised the funds from EBRD. So we are financing one of our biggest extraction projects for zinc and lead, and we have the credit line for 350 million USD from EBRD. So there is a diversified way to raise the funds. Of course, nowadays it's becoming harder and harder, but with the supports of different institutions for development and having such a high standards of ESG, and that which help us to raise the funds, I think it will go further. The last thing I would like to mention that there is also International Financial Center of Astana that been launched on 2017 that helps companies to raise the funds, and it operates according to the UK common law. The standards is there, and of course it helps the junior miners as well to raise the funds. I think one of the examples is Alex. He's sitting here, that he registered his junior mining company in IFC, and it's operating for 3 years. This is a good example that it's working.
Perfect. Maybe to continue on that question on sustainability and ESG, I mean, as a producing company, you have a series of existing protocol that have been, gaining, precedence and importance in the mining sector. I mean, Pierre Graton from TSM was here last year to talk about, some of those sustainability protocol. Can you tell us at Kaz Minerals, which one you actually are trying to apply? What is the different protocols that you have in place, and how is that important or not for your operations?
So, I mean, there are obviously a wide number of different sustainability sort of indexes or protocols out there. And to be honest, we actually look across several of them, and, be it sort of specific standards around sort of tailings facilities, or indeed sort of CO2, etc. So we're applying various ones, and we are assessed through different indices from different bodies. So we're forced to look across a number of different indices in terms of how we measure ourselves and how we perform. We're as an established company with the resources, the international expertise to work on this wide variety of issues. I think that in terms of sort of also access to finance, that puts us in a somewhat different position to, say, some of the local companies that haven't had that sort of international expertise and that kind of sort of longer term program to make sure that you are delivering on sustainability across a whole number of areas which you are assessed for under the financing. I think one of the challenges that I would sort of highlight is, whilst we as a business can look at our own business as a part of the supply chain, we as a mining company have we want to maximize the economic opportunity for local companies too. And they don't necessarily have the same developed internal structures to deliver those same levels of sustainability or responsible supply. And so I'd say in Kazakhstan, we've got a very important role to play as the larger mining companies in terms of helping those local companies develop to be able to meet the standards that we apply, which are themselves international standards. But that's one of the sort of challenges in working in that jurisdiction. But it's a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for the country, and it's also an opportunity for mining to demonstrate how it's actually sort of giving back, not just through the economic opportunity, but also through the wider development of the local supply chain.
Okay. I was joking a little bit of the similarities between Saudi Arabia and Kazakhstan, but more seriously, I know you are interested in growing the ties between the two sub-regions. How could Saudi Arabia play a role in the development of Kazakh's mining sector, and how can Kazakh mining companies or exploration companies be a part of the Saudi mining revolution?
Yes, Saudi Arabia mining sector, it's also something new for Saudi Arabia. And in that case, I think we have very good experience, very good knowledge, very good historical our database to work in that case, and we have a good technical solutions, unique solutions. So we can bring to Saudi Arabia market, for example, it's a knowledge, it's a some standards, technological solutions, etc., etc. I think it's a very similar situation because unfortunately, last 40 years, we little bit become as a oil and gas country, and last 5 years we have launched a new. We received second wind of mining sector, and in that case we have this experience and we have this situation, and very similar situation, very huge territory, low population, and some rich, high potential fields. I think in that case we can share all of these opportunities together, because you know some challenges about the critical minerals, future minerals for building of green energy system, for building ESG-based standards. I think all of these things we can share these opportunities and these efforts together between the two countries. Very good points of start to develop this to both markets. And you know, we very similar not only in mining sector, it's in culture, traditional, and the mentality. I think for us very easy to do business in Saudi Arabia, and for Saudi Arabian people in Kazakhstan also, I think. Perfect. So in that case, it gives good opportunity.
Maybe as a follow-up, Nariman, a similar question to you. I mean, you've witnessed the development here of the mining sector. I mean, would Tamuk look at something very similar and invest here or be part of the exploration objective? I mean, there's gold exploration that you're conducting in Kazakhstan. There's strong gold potential here in Saudi Arabia. Is that something that you see of interest of similar junior mining companies such as yours that would be interested in taking a role here?
Yeah, so about the Kazakhstani companies, so there is a lot of similarity between Kazakhstan and Saudi. So oil extraction companies trying to switch into the mining, as I mentioned above. But when you're saying that if there any potential, it is already here. So Kazakhstani companies, they already entered Saudi. So first of all, it was ERG. I know that a couple of others, they are planning to do so. So and I think more and more companies will come here, and it could be a good synergy. You know that when we are saying that Kazakhstani company could come with this experience, how to operate with the people, and so on and so on. At the same time, we as a Kazakhstan, we need some investments, especially in mine sector as well. So, and we see that our Saudi partners could bring also some investors in Kazakhstan. It could be some win-win situation for both parties when we trying to diversify our economies and trying to find the places in the global mining sector. So I hope that it will be fruitful for everyone. And I think, Remy, you have to ask Kazmin. So Andrew here is for second year in a row, and maybe he has some thoughts on that, and what is the plans of Kazmin for diversifying the assets globally?
I was going there just afterwards, but I just wanted to know what Tauken Samruk was about to do first, but I'm happy to turn to
for Tauken Samruk, so we are in negotiations, so we are trying to find these matching points with our Saudi colleagues, and we see this potential, we see these opportunities, and I hope that during the next couple of years that there will be some operations of Saudis in Kazakhstan, as same as TKS will be presented here in Saudi.
Okay. Andrew, I mean, I was about to ask you about the geopolitical evolution of the region, so maybe the question on Kaz Minerals might be an easier question, but please, can you tell us about Kaz Minerals first and then?
Kaz has got a very strong track record, as I said, in developing and building projects and operating them. And so, you know, if the right opportunities arose here, absolutely. This is, we've talked about some of the similarities between the two countries, the close political ties. So why wouldn't we want to come here if the right opportunity arose? We've got absolutely the right skills to successfully execute and deliver projects. Yeah,
that'd be interesting. Maybe on to finish up, maybe some of your comments on the evolution that we've seen in Kazakhstan. I mean, obviously, you know, the region has been marked by, you know, the conflict that you can have between Russia and Ukraine, and the evolution of the Russian influence on the region. We've seen Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan starting to become a little more, you know, independent, developing more of their personal, you know, individual relationship. The French companies, for example, Orano is very much present in Kazakhstan. We see a lot of different head of states visiting Astana over the last few months. What is your take on this evolution, and what does that mean for the mining sector in Kazakhstan? Maybe starting with you, Kanat, but you will not, you know, escape the question, the three of you. So, Kanat, please.
Yeah, I think after this geopolitical situation in our region or neighbor region, I think it gives more opportunity for our whole Central Asia countries, because a lot of focus from abroad, from West Europe, from South America, GCC and China, even Japan. All of these companies and all of these countries, they consider Central Asia as a source of critical minerals.
Absolutely.
And they look for good projects and to try to find out good partners. Even some companies, for example, West Europe, they already come to Kazakhstan and start exploration works for rare earth metals projects. So I think it's some Central Asia becomes very attractive for for international players as a source of critical minerals, where they can provide their future and to related with Kazakhstan.
Nariman, maybe, I mean, I think you were the one mentioning relationship with EBRD and other actors. You know, yeah. What does the current evolution in terms of geopolitical, you know, tenets lead to, you know, for Kazakhstan to play a bigger role in terms of global gold trade specifically, or create new partnership with other, you know, regional blocs?
So we are trying to be positive. So every crisis gives some opportunities, and of course there was and there is still lots of challenges. So because of this crisis, so you know, the supply chain fails, and it was pretty hard for Kazakhstani companies as well. But at the same time, when we say that the fail of supply chain, we can see that there is a huge demand for Kazakhstani raw materials and the critical materials especially. So as we were close to China, but we would like to diversify our not only products but also these countries that we are exporting, and that's why for us it's also very crucial. If we will say for uranium industry, you'll see that the uranium industry is booming. So price for uranium it triples during the last 12 months, and of course it gives another opportunities for the country as well, as the Kazakhstan is the biggest uranium producer in the world with the 40% of all extraction. So it's also give us some opportunities, but not only for that, for other critical materials. So maybe there was a switch of attention of investors from Russia and the Ukrainian region, that Ukraine is also a big mining country, to the Kazakhstan, and we are trying to be this sustainable and predictable long-term partner for as a supplier for suppliers. So this is how we are thinking, and that's how our country is trying to benefit from all this situation and try to try to find some good points in that.
Very good.
There was
Andrew, maybe to close this, a similar question to you. Do you see new opportunities taking into account the current geopolitical evolution?
I mean, the reason that all these heads, the reason that so many heads of state come to Kazakhstan is the simple recognition that this is where the world's future mineral supplies are going to come from. It's countries like Kazakhstan that have this wealth of resources that hasn't been fully exploited. There's very significant potential there. That's why this country matters so much to the future mineral supply. And that has moved up the political agenda enormously as people come to terms to actually recognize this. Kazakhstan entered into an agreement with the EU on a critical resource strategy, I think, last year. And I don't think this is going to change. And it's not just heads of states. We're seeing the same thing with all the major mining companies. You're not seeing new assets coming through in previously the sort of tier 1 jurisdictions. Right? The assets that are still there that are undeveloped for a reason. There's some kind of key environmental issue or some other key challenges around their development. So inevitably, as the world faces up to its this need for resources, people are looking to countries like Kazakhstan, which has the resource, which has all the attractions that we talked about during the presentation today. And if anyone is interested in following up from this, Kazinvest is part of the Kazakh government. It forms part of their open to overseas investments to help guide investors through the process of exploring and entering Kazakhstan. I don't think they're at the conference this year, but they're certainly very available to discussions with that. But no, Kazakhstan is an established, successful mining jurisdiction with enormous potential.
Oh, very good. I think we're up to the end of the time allotted for this panel. We had much to talk about on this, and so unfortunately we don't have time for questions. But trust me, I've had the chance to interact with those three fine gentlemen, and they're very amenable to any kinds of questions. But please join me in thanking them, and feel free to reach out to them just after the panel. Thank you very much.